Welcome to another episode of Pistons of Fury. In this episode, I show you how to install a Lokar handbrake so that it doesn't interfere with your drive shaft and it uses your OEM brake cables. So our episode today begins under the car, where we're going to be for a good amount of this episode. What I need to do is I need to take my Lokar parking brake out, because if you've ever installed your own Lokar parking brake and you've done it according to the manual that comes, or not the manual, but the sheet that comes with the parking brake, they have you mount it on the underside of the car, where if you have a Mustang, or I've actually read on the forums, there's a lot of other cars where this happens, drive shaft basically makes contact with the bottom of the parking brake, bends the brackets, and you are out of luck. So what I need to do is I need to take this out, and I need to actually mount it from the top, which requires basically drilling a different hole, or not drilling a different hole, but clearancing the hole that I did initially, making sure it's top mount, and then making sure all my bracketry and everything clears. And then once I get that done, I'm going to take my original parking brake cables, which are for this Granada rear end that I have in my Mustang, and I'm going to shorten them and make a bracket to connect it to the Lokar handbrake. Lokar does actually sell a kit for this, which is $180. I don't want to spend that amount of money. I've got a couple parts of scrap metal. I had to buy some special tools. So I'm probably about $50 into this DIY approach, which will save me about $100, maybe a little bit more. I figured this is worth a shot. If this doesn't work for whatever reason, I can always buy the kit later and do that. But for this car to be functional, daily driver, that kind of thing, it needs to have a working handbrake. So that's what I'm going to do. I need to get this cleaned up because I still have some transmission gear oil everywhere from when my U-joint snapped and the drive shaft came out. So I'm going to clean that up, and then I will show you the plan for connecting the parking brake. All right, so just a quick public service announcement from Pistons of Fury. Brake clean, it's awful stuff. You see channels or articles or forum posts or whatever, guys bragging about how much brake clean they use, and the roadkill guys are guilty of this, and I gotta call them out on it. I mean, not that I'm any kind of celebrity or anybody important, but brake clean, awful stuff. If you brag about brake clean or consider it like a manly thing to do, to use a lot of brake clean, good luck with your cancer in 20 years. That's all I have to say. Really, really nasty stuff. I inhaled some of the vapor, and well ventilated area. I'm sure they say it on the can, but I don't recommend this stuff. It's just caustic. If you can get away with like simple green and a rag and some scrubbing, that's highly advisable over the brake clean. So safety tip for the episode. Alright, so here is the general plan. So basically I've got this Lokar parking brake uninstalled. You can kind of see here where it, let's see, focus. Alright, so this got bent when the drive shaft hit it. Now my drive shaft did come out and was bouncing around, so that's probably why this got bent, although I can tell you that there are marks, like a circle mark around the drive shaft, concentric mark. So I know that this was contacting it. So what I'm going to do is basically there's an alternative mounting position where instead of mounting this below the floor, you mount part of it, or you kind of mount it above, but that requires cutting a wider oval here so that it clears everything. So basically my plan, as you can see here in my non-engineering based drawing, it's more like a cartoon, is here's your system, here's your rear drums, you've got your brake cables going all the way up to this block, which I'm going to create out of square stock, and I'm going to have a threaded rod going through there so I can adjust the tension, and the cables will basically pass through the block and then terminate on the other side. And by terminate, I mean they will have some sort of stop on the end. What I've read on the internet, the people have had good luck doing, is you basically put the cable through a nut, and basically just bash the hell out of it with a hammer, and that works better than welding a bead on the end. It works better than you know, the cable tie things you get at Lowe's with the nuts, and it crimps it. So anyway, I'm going to try that. We'll see how it works, and then finally here I'm going to have the threaded rod going to there's like this clevis that sits down here. It attaches to the bottom of the handbrake. So basically I'll have to have the threaded rod going through this hole, so I may need to enlarge this hole or do something there. So I'll be doing that as well. But for the moment, I'm gonna finish having my coffee, and then I need to take the rest of the brackets out of the top of the car. I need to trim my carpet a little bit, and then reinstall the handbrake from the top. And then we should be good to go. Well, good to go on starting the next part of the project. Alright, so a little update on where we are. So I have this, I've got the brackets turned around, and I've got this thing mounted up in the car, and actually I will pull it out so you can see. So what I had to do here, if you can see that, I had to re-drill some new holes in these L brackets that came with the kit, basically to sit the... So I guess, you know, how it comes from Lokar is... put that down, is it gives you brackets, and you can install it one of two ways. You can install it up on the floor, or you can install it below. I had it installed below the first time, and that didn't work. I tried it with the brackets with the stock holes on top, and that actually mounted it up too high, because this basically gets caught on your floor, and it doesn't allow, you know, any kind of free movement, especially with the cable and everything attached to it. So what I did was I punched some new holes and drilled some new holes in these brackets, probably moved it about, what is that, a ½ inch down. So it kind of sits right in the middle. So what has to happen now is there's a bracket that I showed you guys before that goes on here, which attaches to the cable. And my hole, which you can kind of see here, is not wide enough for that to pass through. So I just need to come in here with a grinder and make this hole a lot bigger. So that's what I'm going to do now. Haven't been filming a lot of this stuff because it's, you know, it makes for pretty poor content to just see me basically scratching my head at my workbench for a while trying to figure this out. But making progress. We're gonna do some grinding in my clean interior. Just gonna get stuff everywhere, but it's gotta be done, so gonna get to it. Alright, so here's where we are. Got my threaded rod, have my square stock cut. Not sure where I'm going to put the holes yet for the cables. I don't know what size to drill. I need to cut some of the cables off to do that. But I've modified this bottom piece that attaches to here with the clevis. So that appears to all look pretty good. So I think I need to come in here. I need to cut this threaded rod at some point. I want to make sure I leave enough for it to be adjustable so I can adjust the tension, but not too much so that it looks weird or behaves weird or interferes with really anything else. So next for me is back under the car. Need to just need to get under the car. I need to cut my parking brake cable, the existing one, and figure out how I'm going to put some cable stops on that so it stays in place, they don't pop off. But yeah, back under the car. And here we are, update time again. This seems to be the way this episode's going. Yeah, with stuff like this and under the car, it's just hard to film and, you know, not look like a total spaz when you're under there trying to get stuff done, because it's usually 10 times harder, as you guys probably know, than doing it anywhere else on the car. Maybe the exception of under the dash. But anyway, so here's where we are. I've got this piece made up. I've got the holes drilled for my brake cables to pass through. I've got it mounted and secured to this clevis pin. So basically all that needs to be done now is for these little nuts, whatever, for these guys to be pounded. Oh, this is just going all wrong voiceover wise. So for these things to basically be attached to the end of the brake cables, which I have pulled down, I had to pop off these little retaining cotter pins to give myself some more slack with the brake cables. So basically what has to happen is I've got to do everything so that it stays above the exhaust and above the drive line, which makes it a little bit trickier. I've got two giant hammers. I'm going to basically use one as the anvil behind it, and then one as the striking implement. I'm going to do the shorter cable first because that's coming from the far side. So if I do that, then I can match the measurement hopefully on the near side cable, which should be a little easier because I have more slack on this side. I will attempt to film this. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but you'll probably get to see me get really frustrated and then hopefully be successful. Alright, so quick update. I actually realized that I could do the other side on the other side of the car, so I was able to pin it against the ground, hammer it over there, much easier. I also, I don't know if you can see that, but I pre-bent These are pre-crushed, these nuts in the vise of it. This is just all wrong, innuendo-wise. Yeah, so anyway, it's more of an oval shape. It's pretty close to being fully pinched. So now I just need to bring that back over the drive shaft, over the exhaust, and somehow get this last nut pressed onto my cable. This should be fun. Alright, so that sucked, but so does most work under a car when you don't have any kind of jacking system or lift. Alright, so here we are in the dark interior of the car. In theory, oh. Well, that's not good. I just realized it's fully engaged and I've been tightening against it. So, that's not good. So now I've got to go down and tighten it some more. I'll be right. All right, I'm back for the real moment of truth. So I now have everything reattached, all the e-brake bracket, geez, it's getting late. All the e-brake cables attached where they belong to, the mount points on the car. I've got my contraption down here and assembled, so when I pull this, I should feel the tension and the rear brake should engage. I did feel it, so that's good. Felt some resistance. That should be it. I might have to go down there and just take the slack out of the lines a little bit, because I don't know exactly how much it's engaging. So yeah, I think I still have a little slack in the lines, but whew, that was a long day, but it's good. All right, I'm gonna button everything up and I'll get back with you guys to close this one out. Alright, so that is a wrap for this episode. I feel really good. It's a long day. Started at probably 9 this morning and it's, I don't know what time it is now. I think it's like 7 or 8 at night. So full day to do all this. But super excited because this is basically one of the, I don't want to say one of the first things that I've kind of imagined from scratch and it actually worked. That actually remains to be seen. We'll see how this thing actually behaves on the road. If my method of locking the cables with those little nuts bashed on the end, if my square tube holds up. So there's a lot of moving parts. We'll have to see how all that goes. But overall, this was a success. Saved $120 in the process and ate up a day of my weekend, but that's okay. I enjoy doing it. I like making the content. I like doing things my own way. And I have a feeling that even if I had ordered the Lokar cables that you can buy, I probably would have spent the entire day installing those anyway. So it would be a wash. So this is good news. If you have e-brake cables, oh my God, I'm so tired. If you have e-brake cables on a car and you want to reuse them with a different parking brake handle, it is possible. It's actually not that hard to do. I hope I've given you guys some guidance on how to do that. Please hit me up with any questions in the comments. I'm happy to provide insight and answer any questions, and I will keep you guys updated as to how this thing works on the road. If I can lock up the rear tires, do some 180 J turns or whatever. Anyway, we'll see where it goes. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week.